Welcome to OceanBlock 2, Episode 4. I've got problems. Alright, I am down here at the Prismarine crystal from Nautec. There's a little structure up top somewhere. Look at our map. We can see we're a little ways from the base. And we're at depth 143. Looking at the boots here, we have the depth upgrade Mach 1, which gets you down to 150 feet, or meters, which you can see I'm 7 meters away from being crushed. And we're trying to figure out how to make the aqua catalyst recipe thing here more reliable. So I've made a GitHub post about this because unfortunately it seems like the Nautec mod in its current state is a little buggy. Visually, it looks fine. I'm trying to talk, and he's outrageously loud. So the laser junction here visually looks okay. It's receiving an input and an output, but the jade tooltip up top shows nothing's configured. And if I walk in front here, nothing happens. So let's load these again. And nothing happens. So it is actually broken. Because what we'll see shortly is sometimes the lasers don't render, but they are there. So if we shift right click to output, whoops, and then right click to input, and then shift right click. Okay, so see how every 4 sides of that was broken? And now we're sending it to the mixer here, and we're trying to make crude oil from ethanol and those ingredients. Looking at this recipe here, I saw in the GitHub somebody's asked for another way to make crude oil because of how unreliable this mixer is. So there really should be another type of block, because I think if I was to go this route, it would still have the same issue. I can't power it with lasers, so it doesn't matter, which recipe I use. I'm using this recipe because it's cheaper to get this stuff. It's basically free from sieving. My amazing sieving system is still paying dividends. So yeah, as long as I'm playing my world, I guess I can, fix a couple sides when I log in, but it breaks every time. And if we look here, see how it says inputs west, down. When I leave through my portal and come back to my base, let's actually go get that airdrop. Oh, interesting. Since I'm over there, it's actually dropping around me. Maybe I won't get it. You can see not much has changed here. I'm really soon about to make provisions for all these machines. I've got the power network we'll see shortly. So I've got kind of this half moon crescent. I was thinking I'm going to put sand on top of the stone brick and then maybe some grasses and then get rid of the kelp. It'll just be like short sea grasses and I won't have to see all the way down. It'll be kind of a closed little aquarium of sorts. This side here, I think what I'm going to do is pull over an A2 network and make a subnet that's just going to handle my crops. It's not going to be as extensive as the one I made in Project Ozone 2 recently. But most of these seeds are seeds that I've got from those airship drops. A few of them I've made with this system, but I actually can't make too many higher tiered ones. Now it's very interesting that stuff's... Oh, this still has power. I see. I've got 1 solar panel. These Ender.io solar panels, they don't have a recipe. So I guess you can't craft them. You can just find them as rewards, which I didn't realize till I was building this last night. If we come back here and we look, we can see the Jade tooltip is now saying nothing's configured. But since I haven't actually closed my game, we can see that it's still configured. It just doesn't look like it is. Oh, I don't know what trinket does that. Must be these boots, but they freak me out every time. So if I throw down these, right, and then we put a little bit of power in there. Nothing. There we go. So yeah, lasers are supposed to shoot at the bottom and at the top. We can make our little conversion there. I don't know. This stuff just eats through Prismarine like nothing. On to the main event here. The Redstone pen, the RLC. A bit of a use case here. So we have an ender tank with ethanol in it. We can see there's about 500, about half a bucket. And if we go to the mixer here, we can see we've got a bucket of ethanol. We've got some catalysts here, and we're going to make crude oil. And we've actually made it, and everything's full. So the system's off. So this is where the redstone pen comes in. We are using green and blue as outputs to control the torches, which control the item conduit. Basically, it's only going to pull out, one of these is redstone, and then the other side is nitrate. It's only going to pull out when the redstone is low, so the torches are actually preventing items from getting pulled out right now. And then we are using yellow and red as inputs, but not just any input, a comparator input. So what's cool is ender tanks actually have the ability to throw a comparator on them, and you can pull a signal. So right now here we'd probably get a signal of 1, and here would be a signal of 15 because it's full. So we can see the green light, the controller is on. And if you haven't looked at this much, it might be a little overwhelming, but I'll try to go over it. The first line here at the top can be ignored. By default, the tick rate is 4. You don't have to set it, but I was actually changing the tick rate to 20 to try to slow down how often the controller ran, but it wasn't really an effective way of doing what I was trying to do, so I put it back at default, and then I just kind of left it here with a comment in case I wanted to use it again. So if we hover over here, we can see the red comparator of the ethanol is 1, which is what I thought, and then the Y comparator is 15, which is full. This little debug menu here. And notice that the red and the yellow are 0 because we're not outputting or sending a signal, we're reading a comparator value, which is what that .co is. I shortened the variables up because I wanted all this on one line. So O and E is what's getting set here. So line by line. Oil is the yellow comparator and ethanol is the red comparator. We can double check that. Okay, oil, yellow, ethanol, red. So that's cool. So basically what I'm saying is if the oil level gets low, it gets below 5, which is like less than half, then I want this to, make more oil, right? So if oil gets low, make more oil, but only do that if you have enough ethanol. So I want to have about, just over 2 of redstone signal, like 20% full. Only run if you have ethanol. I should maybe go over that. So the main reason of having this fancy logic is the mixer. If we go to the mixer here, underwater brewing, it talks about items need to be placed in a cardinal direction of the machine. Maybe it was only one item can be placed in from each cardinal direction. So it doesn't explicitly say it, but I guess it's kind of a hint that it's got quirky behavior. If we just had a chest pulling out, nitrate and redstone, it would actually overfill. You can't have redstone, nitrate, or any other combination. These have to be empty. I think you can have a whole stack in here of each of these type, but these have to be empty. So I have to kind of control how many items are getting pushed into the mixer. So right now, we don't want to keep pushing in items if there's no reason to, because we can see the output buffer of the oil is full. So that's kind of the whole reason of actually using this complicated controller. So that's fine. If we're low on oil and we have enough ethanol, start making stuff. So the next thing is the clock, T. Basically, this is going to count up to 60, basically 59. And then when it gets to 59, it's going to wrap over to 0 and start counting again. So basically, you take your clock, divide by 20 ticks a second, and then I think you mod 60. You know, people who are good at math are going to understand what's going on. This is a piece of code from the dev of the Redstone pen mod. And so 59, they hit 0, counting over again. So that's kind of a delay. I don't want the items getting sent too quickly. Basically every minute, well, exactly every minute, it'll try sending 4 redstone and 4 nitrate. Now the reason it sends 4 is because the Ender.io in 1.12, and I think previously, used to have a downgrade speed upgrade, and as far as I can see, it doesn't have a downgrade anymore. So I believe it's always sending 4 items per transfer per tick, which kind of sucks because I only want it to do 1. This version, I guess, is kind of lacking in that regard, which is fine. I'm just going to use AE2 later, applied energistics, to push items into this chest. I'll push in a few, and I shouldn't have this, overfill. But anyways, sending. So blue and green are these redstone torches here. So send is going to be 15 or 0 based on this equation. So send equals if. So the way the if thing works, we look at this reference here. If x, AB, basically A is the true and B is the false scenario. So if it's true, send 15. If it's false, send 0, which is what's controlling these torches. So the condition is if the oil is less than 5 and the ethanol is greater than 2 and the timer is at, a full minute, then send 4 items. It's kind of the long story short. But of course, it's not going to do anything right now because our tanks are satisfied. I think my last episode, somebody had told me about modular routers, which is an amazing mod that I always forget is in the pack. At some point, I'm going to use it. I think it would probably handle this type of setup pretty slick. I just kind of want more reasons to try to, use the Redstone pen mod. I think it's such a cool thing. I want to get better at using it. And so I'm sure there's some conditions I haven't accounted for yet. I'm still kind of tweaking this, but because of these lasers here, breaking every time I load my world, it's kind of a little uninspiring. So that's all well and good, right? We're going to send items here, and we're probably going to also send Prismarine, and then we're going to somehow pipe the Prismarine out of this chest into those to keep them powered for the reaction. That's all fine. So the next thing is, though, how do you control how many items you send to this chest? Because this could easily get overwhelmed with items and, send too many Prismarine shards. How do you control what's getting sent to this chest? If anyone's wondering why my game maybe looks so bright and different, one of the big things is I got rid of shaders. With shaders, you can't see underwater very well. I've added these nice windows, and then my computer fan just runs excessively. So I don't think I want to play with shaders anymore. As cool as they kind of look with the water, the fact that you can't see under the water, yeah. And then the brightness. I don't know if I ever mentioned it, but really early on I made the Pharaoh flare lanterns. I got one here and one in that corner because it's dark, and it seems to pretty much light up everything. Of course I have one there, like in all 4 cardinal directions, but very few torches. If there's still torches around, it's because I forgot to break them. Alrighty, the next thing causing me grief is my AE2 system. So we can see that there seems to be storage somewhere. So it looks maybe a little scabbed. I kind of wish these wires actually spanned further apart. I think like that right there is almost the max span of them. I think the high voltage wires can actually span from that point right to that point, but I wanted to add more kind of connection nodes for powering things. It's not at all a good way to transfer power. I just kind of like the look of them. Unfortunately though, there is a problem with the, which one's this? More immersive wires. It's a dense AE2 comms cable. The connections are really unreliable on world load. Actually, even if I leave the chunk, I think they sometimes break. I've been trying to figure out exactly what's working to make a GitHub a bug report, but it's really weird. I don't understand it. For a bit, I thought it was because my controller is being powered by a really weak solar panel right now. It's not actually on the crude oil diesel generator power yet. I suppose it would be helpful if I did that because it would make it easier to test that crude oil setup. But for now, this connector used to be on the top. And every time I'd come into my game, it'd be broken. And then I tried putting it on the side and it would be broken. And as a last ditch effort, I extended it a few blocks and then I put it on the bottom. And it's hard to see, but the fact that the crafting terminal was able to put power into that drive tells me this connection is fine. And I've since reloaded my world a couple times and it hasn't broken. So what's really weird is on this particular connection, it seems to like the bottom. If we come this way, oops, we got to be careful. If we touch that, even with this armor, it is an instant death. So that's pretty fun. This connection's on the top. The relays just kind of let you daisy chain your connections. I don't see any issues with those yet, but it's the actual connector going from the modded AE2 to the typical AE2 cables. So yeah, like the plan is, you know, it's a little cheaper to run wires. I kind of like the look of them. And if I want AE2, I just pull the cable down, put a connector here. But if those connectors are going to be, you know, breaking all the time, that's not very good. Unless it's a matter of just finding what block side it prefers. I don't know. What else here? Oh yes, the diesel generator. So what I was going to do was probably get another redstone pen, a redstone controller, put it on this tank. Both of these tanks, if you put a vanilla comparator on them, it'll pull a signal. Not all tanks do that, but fortunately for me, these two do. So if I pull a redstone signal off here, right now we're full, so we'd have a redstone of 15. I might make some logic. I'll probably make another generator to have two of them. And I'll say, you know, if the redstone gets lower than 2, then I want you to use the export bus from AE2, and I want to export probably a crafting card and a redstone card. Those will be the settings. But I'm going to export nitrate, redstone, and prismarine to power the reaction. That's what I'm going to use to throttle sending items to that ender chest. Is we're going to export these ingredients based on a redstone signal with this card, and we're probably going to do it like a 5-minute timer because we get 8,000 buckets of oil per transaction, and as far as I know, let's actually put some demand on this thing. Stored power, so we're fully stored and we're using as much as we're generating. I guess it's having no problem keeping it supplied based on that red bar. Yeah, so we'll have 2 generators lined up like this, redstone controlling them somehow. It could be cool too to have like staging, like based on energy draw, you know, run 1 or run 2 of these generators. If we go here to diesel, and just have a little bit of a noise. So this thing's running, and this is full, and that's really low. Alrighty, what do we have here? So O is 15, oil is calling, but E is not. We do not have enough ethanol. So we still have... So in theory this should be running right now, other than the fact that I have not set up a way to send Prismarine. Okay, so now we're not going to get sent any more items because of course there's no ethanol in the system, even though graphically it looks like there is. And we are at 16. Ooh, it is dropping. Power generation. Yeah, so as cool as it was to build the diesel generator, I don't know if it's going to work for me. I was thinking about just building, you know, windmills, water mills, stuff I'm familiar with from immersive engineering, but it's pretty low power. So I figured, oh, let's go to the diesel generator. But to get decent fuel for it is not super easy. As far as I know, I don't want to be using, you know, coal. I don't think I have a great way of getting like uranium right now. And an Orotech is a whole crafting system I have to get into. I imagine that's the same with the solar panel and the reactor, and then their own fuel generator. So unfortunately, and then of course there's the early game, you know, steam power that I was using the boiler system. Yeah, so unfortunately, crude oil is just really difficult to get. We go to diesel gen. I'm trying to make the crude oil. This stuff here looks like... Maybe I'll check them out again. I was thinking this was the easier thing for me to make, but now that Nautec seems like it's broken, it's clearly not. I mean, I could do the direwolf thing. It's just a whole bunch of automating. I don't quite have that tier of goo yet. I have blaze, I have not got void shimmer. I think I have... Ooh. I have 2 of these I found. I guess I have to kill abyssal mobs. I don't want to do that, but maybe I'll have to. I assume you just get them from killing. So if we just went to blaze fuel, we could skip all this. So if we started with blaze fuel, we could use the blaze bloom. So you have unrefined, you have to drop in this into that. There's a whole bit of automation that has to work, but luckily the just dire things adds all kinds of clickers, fluid dropper, picker uppers. Just a matter of, you know, finding where to lay it out. Now what about biodiesel? Okay, so we could do vegetable oil. Oh, I was thinking this was an input. This is an output. All we need is ethanol, which we have. And we actually have a squeezer set up. We're just not even using it. And then, of course, we need a more robust pneumatic craft system. There doesn't seem to be too many power sources.